My name's Robert Hayes. I'm 69 years old, a retired lineman for the power company and a man who spent most of his life with his hands wrapped around cables and cold steel. For 43 years I climbed poles in the rain, fixed lines in the snow, and worked through storms that swallowed whole towns in darkness. My hands are rough, my shoulders ache, and my doctor says I've got the spine of a man who carried the grid himself. But I never complained, because I always believed that if I worked hard enough, my family would never have to struggle the way I did. Work became my measure of love. Every shift I pulled, every call I answered in the middle of the night, it all meant security for the people waiting at home. I told myself that each overtime hour was a gift for them, even if it meant one less dinner, one less story, one less Sunday together. Back then I thought that was the price every good man paid. My wife Margaret used to tell me, "Bob, the world can wait, but your family can't." She said it with that soft certainty of someone who understood time better than I did. She was light and laughter and calm in the middle of every storm. Her patience had a way of turning even the hardest days into something gentle. Every Sunday she'd cook roast chicken, always the same recipe, always with her favorite song playing in the kitchen. She'd hum along, her voice drifting through the house like a memory you never wanted to end. "No matter how busy we get," she'd say, "we eat together. That's how families stay families." And I'd nod, promising I'd be there next time. Then one day she was gone. 6 years have passed, but her absence still moves through this house like a quiet echo. Cancer took her fast, and I never got to tell her that I finally understood what she meant. The day she died, the noise of life stopped, replaced by the kind of silence that feels alive, the kind that watches you. I tried to fill that silence with routine. I'd mow the lawn, fix the porch, wash the truck even when it wasn't dirty, but none of it worked. Every creak of the floorboards, every faint smell of her perfume reminded me that the real work, the work of being present, had always been hers. My children called from time to time. "How are you doing, Dad?" they'd ask, and I'd tell them I was fine, even when the truth felt heavier than the telephone. I knew they were busy. Careers, families, deadlines, all those things we once thought defined success. I told myself I didn't mind. Last weekend, for the first time in years, all 3 of my kids came home for dinner. I spent the whole morning cleaning, wiping dust off photographs, setting the table just like she used to. The smell of roast chicken filled the house again, her recipe written in her hand, the card still smudged with old gravy stains. I played her music while I cooked, the same songs she loved, the ones she used to dance to while the kids giggled in the living room. It almost felt like she was still here, humming along, waiting for everyone to come home. I even set her seat, couldn't bring myself not to. They came right at 5. Matthew, my oldest, walked in first, phone in one hand, laptop bag in the other, already checking messages before saying hello. "Hey, Dad," he said, "can I use your Wi-Fi?" Then Emily arrived, still talking to her boss on Bluetooth, her laugh mixing with the noise of business. Grace, my youngest, was the last to come through the door. She hugged me tight, warm and quick, then sat down and immediately started scrolling through her feed. I looked at them, my 3 grown children, sitting in the home that built them, and I tried to believe that this was enough, that their presence, even distracted, still counted for something. "We said, Grace." Well, I did. Their heads bowed halfway, eyes glancing at screens that refused to stay silent. Before I could even start carving the chicken, the table glowed with the soft blue light of their devices. The only sound was the hum of electronics and the tapping of thumbs. Matthew was watching the market. Emily was answering an email about some project deadline. Grace was posting pictures from a brunch she'd been to that morning. None of it was wrong, but all of it was distant. It felt like the kind of togetherness that fools you into thinking you aren't alone. I watched them for a while, their faces lit by screens instead of candlelight, their laughter replaced by silence. The food grew cold between us, and I felt that familiar ache rise again. Not in my back this time, but in my chest. A heaviness that whispered, "This isn't how it's supposed to be." I looked at the empty chair beside me, her chair, and realized something I hadn't wanted to face. The house wasn't empty because Margaret was gone. It was empty because the people still here had found somewhere else to be. They were all lost in worlds I couldn't see, even while sitting right in front of me. So I set down my fork. The sound of it hitting the plate was sharper than I expected, like a knock on the door of memory. They looked up, startled. For the first time all night, I had their attention. "You know," I said softly, "your mother used to make me promise to be home for dinner." My voice shook a little, but I kept going. Even when I was dead tired, she'd say, "Bob, the world can wait. Your family can't." I smiled, though it hurt. She was right. The world always waits, but people don't. Matthew blinked and put his phone down. Emily's fingers froze above her keyboard. Grace looked at me, really looked, and her eyes began to glisten. The room, once filled with digital noise, turned completely still. "I've got money," I said quietly. "I've got comfort. But none of it means a thing if I have to eat dinner alone in a full house." The words hung there between us, heavy as thunder. It wasn't anger that filled the space. It was truth. One by one, they powered off their devices. The glow faded. The silence shifted from cold to warm, like the room itself had exhaled. For the first time in years, I saw my children's faces without distraction, and I felt Margaret there, smiling in the quiet. We started to talk. Slowly at first, as if learning how to again, about old road trips, about Mom's terrible singing, about that time I got the truck stuck in the driveway snow and blamed the dog. And then laughter, small at first, then bigger, freer. It's strange how sound can change the air. The house that had felt so hollow began to breathe again. Laughter bounced off the walls like it remembered the way home. For the first time in years, it felt like a Sunday. We stayed at the table for hours, long after the food had gone cold. Emily told me about her job and how sometimes she misses the simplicity of being a kid. Matthew said he's been thinking of taking fewer projects, maybe finding balance. Grace admitted she's tired of pretending that online life is real life. When the night finally ended, Grace hugged me tighter than she had in years. "Dad," she whispered, "we'll come back next Sunday. No phones this time." Her voice trembled just a little, and I knew she meant it. I smiled and said, "That's all I want." That was 3 months ago. Since then, every Sunday they've returned. They bring food, stories, and the noise of living. The house feels different now, fuller, warmer, as if the walls themselves remember laughter again. Sometimes we burn the chicken. Sometimes the stories overlap and we talk over each other. But that's fine. Perfection never made a home. Presence did. Margaret's seat still stands empty, but it doesn't feel lonely anymore. It feels honored. It feels like a symbol of everything she taught us. That family isn't a once-in-a-while thing. It's a rhythm, a promise, a heartbeat that keeps time even when we forget the song. I often think about how I spent a lifetime preparing for the future. I built savings, stability, safety nets. But none of that mattered on the nights when the house was silent. Comfort without connection is just another kind of emptiness. It took one quiet dinner, one heavy silence for me to understand that the greatest gift you can give your family isn't money. It's your time. The world keeps spinning without us, but love waits for no one. Now, on Sunday evenings, the light from our house spills out into the yard again. I sit at the head of the table and watch my kids laugh, argue, tease, and remember. I don't say much. I just listen. That's all I ever wanted. The sound of life returning. Sometimes in the middle of their laughter, I glance at the empty chair and imagine her sitting there, smiling. Maybe she knew this would happen. Maybe that's why she always insisted on Sunday dinners. She knew that one day it would bring us back home. The seasons pass quietly now. The house that once felt too big for one man feels just right again. Every creak, every echo carries her warmth. Every meal feels like a prayer answered. You can spend your life chasing what you think you need. A bigger house, a better job, a safer future. But in the end, it's the small things that matter. A dinner table, a conversation, the sound of someone's laughter after a long silence. I've learned that the richest people aren't the ones with the most saved, but the ones who show up, who give their time, their presence, their listening hearts. Because time once spent never comes back, and no amount of success can buy a single second of it. So put the phone down, look up, talk to the people who fill your life with meaning, Because one day their seat at the table will be empty and no amount of money will ever fill it. I used to think love was something you built over time, like a house. Now I know it's something you maintain, like a light, one you have to keep turning back on again and again. That's what Sunday dinners are for. The world can wait. The notifications, the calls, the deadlines, they can all wait. But the people you love cannot. Every moment you share with them is a moment you never have to regret losing. When I close my eyes at night, I can still hear her voice. Bob, no matter how busy we get, we eat together. It's no longer a memory. It's a reminder, a rhythm, a truth. Now, every Sunday, I set the table the same way she did. The plates, the candles, the music, all of it just as she liked. And when the door opens and my children step inside laughing, it feels like she's right here again. Because love never really leaves a house. It lingers in the light, in the laughter, in the way we keep showing up for one another. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it. The sound of a family coming home.